Okay, today's YouTube video, we're going to be discussing on how to install openDNS. Not really to install, actually, but to configure our routers to use openDNS services to help prevent incidental exposure to, or intentional exposure to inappropriate material, including pornography, explicit material, things of that nature. The great thing about openDNS is one, it's free. Two, you do not have to install it on all your computing devices, mobile devices, and so forth. And lastly, it is very customizable, and you can do all sorts of things with it, which we'll touch on many of those things in this video here. So the first thing we need to do to get started is we need to go to opendns.com, as I am here. And the link for this is also below in the comments of this YouTube video. All right, once we're here, we want to go ahead and go um, click on the for personal use. We want to choose parental controls here. And we have kind of two choices, openDNS Home or openDNS Family Shield. I suggest using openDNS Home. It has many more features that are useful. So I'll just choose this, and that's what we're going to be discussing today anyway. So click on sign up for now. Now, what we have to do here is fill all this information. Do not do a fib account. I have myself quite a few email accounts that are actually not in use. I just put them in for junk mail purposes. But you're actually, once you fill this out, you're actually going to receive an email, and you have to click on a link to actually get openDNS active. So go ahead and put real information in there and put this on pause, get the email all set up, and then click on the link and activate your openDNS account. Okay, after you do that, we're now going to jump over to configuring our routers to use openDNS. Now, the first thing we need to do is find out what our IP address of our router is. Some of us probably forgot about that. The easiest way to find that out is on Windows, which I'm on now, Windows 7, is to click in the bottom left-hand corner, the Windows icon. Now, if you use Ubuntu, you probably have somewhere along here, probably have a command shell down here, and you probably know where they are regardless if you're using Ubuntu. If you're using Mac, up here at the top, you'll probably have Finder down below here. Click on Finder and look for Terminal, because that's what you'll use. For us here in Window Land, bottom left-hand corner, click on the Windows, and either you'll get to this screen, or if you're using an old version of Windows like Windows XP, upgrade your computer first. It's not supported anymore, but you'll get a little program listing here, kind of like this, about this tall, and then find the white area where you can type. For everybody else, come to this magnifying glass, and you get that white area you can type in CMD and hit enter, and that will bring up your command prompt. Now from here, it's very simple. All you have to do is type in ipconfig. For Linux users, ifconfig, so on and so forth. And then right here we get right here is our router's IP address. It is our default gateway. So for this example, it's 192.168.1.1. If you go to an internet browser, and yes, I'm going to use Internet Explorer, which I normally do not do, type in 192.168.1.1. Now notice how I type that in. There's no www or HTTP or anything like that. The HTTP will be added automatically, just like that. And just type it the way it is, 192.168.1.1. Also, you might realize that your router is either the same or very close to that, and that's normal because it is your own internal network. Now, for all of us, it's all routers have variations of your username and password, default password. Now, usernames are normally admin or administrator or even blank at sometimes. So this is where, if you have not logged in before, you're going to want your router set up manual that you received with the router. If you do not have that, don't worry. Physically stand up and look at the router for the number. My router number, or the brand and number, is Linksys E2500. So I type that into Google, and I also type in Linksys E2500 setup manual, and I'll be able to browse and obtain that information I need to log on to my router. If you've already set it in or set up your router and put in a new password, which is highly recommended, go ahead and type that in. If you forgot about that password because you haven't logged into it since you've configured it, you're going to need to probably reset it and then put it back to manufacturer settings and use that same manual to get it back up to um, where you had it before. But this time you remember your password. And that's fairly simple. Normally it's just holding a button in a red button in the back for 30 seconds and then I'll reset it. But again, refer back to your manual on how to do that. That's the best thing to do at this point. For those of us who are able to get to this point, on the main setup screen, at least on this router, we have a DNS configuration area, and it's fairly should be in your main setting area. So I would be surprised if most of them are not on this main page, but you might have to hunt around a bit to find the DNS section, and also look both on the top here, and some of them have active side panels as well that you can click on. You might even have a DNS area, kind of where this network setup is. You'll have a DNS settings tab right there you can click on. But once we get there, normally you'll have this blank. So you'll have a 0.0.0.0 all through here. And that's because your internet provider normally provides defaults DNS servers for you. And that's something we want to change. And so we will go here. And again, I will go ahead and provide this link for you and actually put in the openDNS servers. Now those are right here. These are the IP addresses you need to use. 208.67.222.222. Put that in the first one. Second one, right there, put that in your second field. If you have a third or even a fourth, if you only have two, you're good. But if you have more, well, then I suggest using a Family Shield IP address, one of these up here for that third one. Okay, that way, if you keep that blank, I've heard some instances of your internet provider still providing a way to sites you necessarily don't want to go to because it skips to that third one and they think they know best and they'll take you to what you're actually don't want people to view. So I suggest making all these some sort of valid domain service, and that's what we've done here. Okay. So at this point, before you click anything else, be advised that on many routers, you hit Save Settings, it will give you a prompt that says you will have to reboot your router to save this configuration setting. So be aware of that. And if you click yes on this and then yes on that, it will reboot your system. And that's okay. Or not your system, I'm sorry, your router. It will reboot your router. And that's okay. Just make note of where we're at on this video. And once that happens, you will lose internet connectivity for about 2 minutes. And then when it comes back up after the reboot, you'll be able to get back onto the internet and get back to this video so you can be shown the rest of the steps to get everything configured. So go ahead and do that now. And then mine doesn't do that. So I'm good. It accepted those settings regardless. I would say, okay, so those settings are in our routers, and sometimes that takes a little bit of time to populate through your router. That's not unusual. So be aware of that. I normally wait a while for that. But on our computers, we need to go ahead and flush our DNS settings. DNS settings are given to the computer from your router, and so we need to refresh those as well. That's easy for Windows. It's as simple as ipconfig / flush DNS. ipconfig helps if I spell it right. Done. And so that also takes a few minutes. So I've reset my DNS settings on my laptop and on my router. This is where you can kind of take a break for a little bit, or you can continue on and get the configuration settings done for the openDNS, and then maybe take a break while your configurations take effect to all your systems. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is log on to our openDNS account. So this is where we were. We clicked on the internet link in our email and probably, let's see, got to a page similar to this, but you could just log in to it. Great, and we're done there. Okay, so this should be our dashboard, right? It actually will probably be here once we, oops, I didn't mean that. We're here, we want to look for this. If we might be in community or something like that, make sure we're clicking on the dashboard. This will give us the area where we can make our configuration changes. Now, the first thing we want to go to is settings, and then go down to this little area here, stats, and click on this icon. And this way, I believe actually that there's another link that says enable stats. Click on that, and then you'll receive some sort of chart similar to this one. Turn that on, and then it'll give you the option to review some traffic that's happening on your network, right? For example, a good thing to look at is block domains. This way you have an idea of, and I don't have any here, but block domains gives you an idea of who has clicked on something that was actually blocked by openDNS. I'm not saying it was intentional, but it could be, malware for all we know, right? So that's good to know if there's a continual attempt to get out to um, inappropriate websites. That's a good place. One piece of malware, Adult Finder, I believe, and it is malware or adware, I should say, gets on your system and it will continually try to get inappropriate content. And that could be a good indicator. You need to go to that computer and do some more work on it to get that wiped off. But it'll be blocked nonetheless. Um, so again, the stats, you could choose various stats here. And it's a good resource for you to do some monitoring. All right, so go back to settings and click on your IP address. This is my IP address of my router, or my internet facing side of things, right? So it is going to be different than what the 192 number that you put in earlier. So I suggest here that you do a custom. And the reason why I suggest to do a custom setting is you click on something like moderate and moderate and you choose custom. This will actually check mark all the things moderate does. So I uncheck these, I hit customize, boom. Presets are put in place, right? And then you can go a little bit deeper. High is pretty restrictive, a little bit more than I like. So I stick with moderate, and then I kind of choose, adult themes. You might want that check mark. I actually don't because it blocks a lot of my hunting sites. Um, so I don't like that. Um, I use a proxy server and anonymizer every once in a while for stuff. And everything else, this one's I don't like this one because you can still get inappropriate material via downloads from peer-to-peer, so I block that. But I use those, not for that, not for that, but for other things, um, and so on and so forth. So one thing I do suggest is once you are done doing this, and you click on apply, let's go ahead and click on apply. It's gonna, again, time to wait a little bit, right? You're gonna have to wait a little bit for everything to take, all the configuration settings to take place. But I want to add one thing is that even if you do check mark adult themes, you and your hunter or something else, and you have a whole bunch of sites that you like to go to, websites you like to go to, you could type them here, www.hunters.com, which I'm sure is a site. I've never been there. And you can choose to never block. Add domain, and now it's there. Now, 3 of these I actually use on a regular basis, and they were blocked, so I put them in here. They haven't been blocked since. So, yeah, every configuration takes 3 minutes. So you can still have these check marked and get around those check marks by adding them in here. Now, this is key, is that when you get everything configured on your router, and this, do not give untrusted individuals, and yes, this implies children, access to these devices. If you need help, there are many other ways to get help to make these configurations. You are basically wiping any type of security you just put in place, you're wiping it out because you're giving the keys to the kingdom to those who are subject to the controls. Okay, so your router, this this information, the password information, should only be managed by you and have access to by you. Great. So the last piece that we have to cover is the hardest piece, is because you actually should test this out to verify that it works. Now, I normally don't, I haven't blocked dating, not because I use it, but because I just didn't think of it. Um, so I don't know if those settings have, it hasn't been 3 minutes. So that setting might not have taken place yet, but we will try. But um, you want to verify this stuff, these configuration changes have taken place. And I suggest that you do this with your wife or husband, and you don't do one test. Do not go to like some horrible site um, or anything like that. Just try to find a website that will be blocked, but if it's not, you're not exposed to anything inappropriate as well. But do it as a couple, so at least you both are together when you do it. But so I'm gonna try, I guess, eHarmony, right? Right, yeah. Nice. OpenDNS blocked it. This was not blocked earlier. So everything I made, again, is correct. It's blocked. And so, you know, um, that's blocked. Something like Victoria's Secret will be blocked. Yep. So that's that should be all the tests right there. You got those two. If you verified it with two things, you're good. So I know I just said just do one, but I always do two just in case there's not a fluke. And both of those are blocked. And I verified it with my wife on Victoria's Secret previously, so I already knew that was going to be blocked. Other than that, that's it. I mean, it's not hard. Um, it's nice that you don't have to install it on every system. It's free. All those reasons are why OpenDNS is the best solution, and it is effective to every single system on your network. Whoever connects to your network, your router, Wi-Fi or otherwise, will not be able to get to inappropriate material. Now, that means that the cell phones that use the cellular networks, the LTE networks or 4G or whatever you use, those are not subject to these configuration settings. It is only for devices that connect to your network, so be aware of that. Um, but there are other things you can use to help block access on those as well. Um, anyway, that's all we have for now, and appreciate your time. If you have any questions, I'm sure we'll be around to answer those.